up guys, welcome to another video. Today we're reviewing Scream 6. This one came out on Friday and was directed by Matt Benderly-Olpin and Tyler Gillette, and stars Melissa Barrera. Now before we start, just like, subscribe, post notifications so you know for a video, and let's just start. Let's start talking about the good. So all the actors in this film, I thought they're all phenomenal. I really cared about every single character, and I really thought the performances that they gave were very, very good. The opening sequence is fantastic, brutal, and very, very unique. It's basically Laura, who is played by Samara Weaving. She is killed in an alleyway by Jason, who plays a fake Ghostface, who's played by Tony Revolori, and he's then killed by the actual Ghostface at his house. It is very, very unique. You have to see it play out in order to understand, but it is a unique sequence in any of the Scream films, and I really, really enjoyed that entire sequence. The cinematography, because the shots, cameras, the lighting, I thought it was great. The directors know how to create sequences of suspense with using the lighting, use of shadows. Because Ghostface, there's one sequence in particular where Ghostface is seen only through a shadow, and it works because of his persona and how Ghostface moves, how quick he moves, and I thought it was fantastic. The first act of the film I thought was very, very well done. I cared about the characters. They were set up very well. You could see, of course, in the beginning of a Scream film, you're looking to see who the killer might be, and I couldn't predict what was going to happen with the killers. It was very, very unpredictable until you get to the latter half of the film, which I'll get to later. But in the beginning, when they gave you a list of suspects, I did not think that whoever the killers were in the end were going to be the killers in the entire film. Detective Bailey, played by Dermot Mulroney, is phenomenal in the film. He is very, very good in this film, and he's in a lot of the film. He's very important to the story, and I thought his character was very, very well written. The directors knew how to use this character and this actor for his role, and I thought it was fantastic. Ghostface, the voice, Roger L. Jackson, is once again fantastic. You can never go wrong with Roger L. Jackson as Ghostface. He's once again phenomenal. The second of the film I thought was very well done. It's very, very tense and very fast paced. There's not a dull sequence in the second act. It just kept moving, and it was very, very dark, creepy, and I was at the edge of my seat the entire second act. And that is something that should happen in a horror film. While there should be some releases of tension, you have to have that tension in the second act in order to be invested in what's going to come in the third act of the film. And I thought that they did a great job with the second act. The relationship between Tara, played by Jenna Ortega, and Sam, played by Melissa Barrera, is great. I really enjoyed the continuation of the relationship. Things happen to those characters that they end up sort of not trusting each other in a way, but you see how that plays out in the third act of the film, and I thought it works very, very well. There's also a strong relationship between Sarah, Sam, Chad, played by Mason Gooding, and Mindy, played by Jasmine Savoy Brown. Very strong relationship between those four friends. All those four characters and actors who portray them are phenomenal. I really, really enjoyed each of the performances more than I did in Scream 5. So their performances in this film were very, very good. There are also many brutal and intense sequences. Ghostface is easily the most brutal in this film compared to other Scream films. Very, very high body count, surprisingly, compared to Scream 2022. And I think it works for the film because it shows a darker aspect of Ghostface, and this film is easily the scariest Scream film out of all of them, including the original. I think the original is, of course, one of the greatest horror films of all time, one of my favorite horror films. But in terms of keeping me scared at the end of the film, not necessarily on the edge of my seat, but just straight out scared, this is the scariest Scream film that I've ever seen. There are also some great twists and turns. Gail, Chad, and Mindy are surprise survivors. All three get brutally injured by Ghostface, and they get very, very injured by Ghostface. Like, more injured than they did in Scream 5. In Scream 5, Chad gets pretty messed up in Scream 5, but this film is nothing compared to what he had to go through in Scream 5. The third act of the film is fantastic and very surprising. There are 3 killers that are revealed. The first time that this series has had 3 killers, and it's Ethan, played by Jack Chevy, who is phenomenal in the film. Quinn, played by Leona Liberato, who I think she was good in the film. Not as good as probably she could have been, but she was good. And Detective Bailey, he's phenomenal. Like I said earlier, Dermot Mulroney is phenomenal in this entire film. And then there's a Ghostface shrine fight between Ethan Quinn and Detective Bailey versus Kirby, Sam, Tara, and Chad. All three Ghostfaces are killed by Sam, which makes sense because she is the lead character, but she does it in a very brutal way, and that third act is very, very brutal. The score by Brian Tyler is fantastic. I think this is a much better score than Scream 5. I enjoy the score for Scream 5, but this film easily tops whatever he did for Scream 5. And the ending sequence I thought was great. It's basically Kirby, Sam, Tara, Chad, Mindy, and Gail. They all survive, and the ambulance arrives for them, and it just finishes off similar to the original Scream film. That's all the good I have. Now let's move on to the bad. So, while there are stakes in this film, there are a lot high stakes in this film. All the main characters survive, and it's not necessarily a bad thing or a bad aspect of the film. It's just that I wish there were more risks that were taken in the film, because things happen to those characters where they get stabbed multiple times and they somehow manage to survive. And I know it is sort of supposed to be a suspension of belief, but at the end of the day, you need to sort of have that aspect of the film where you're actually worried about the characters and not so much saying, oh, they're going to survive this encounter because they are lead characters. That's not how it should be. But I was fine with the result that we got. So that's about it. Scream 6 is a phenomenal entry to the Scream franchise, and I'm going to give Scream 6 an A. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, post notification buttons, and for a video. I'm Peter. Thank you for watching.